If you have been watching TNA lately, and you have been watching YouTube on the regular, and you're a TNA fan, you have noticed that there is an August 1st warning with a shadow character saying that he's going to debut on August 1st. The way they say it is this package, this video package with this mystery shadow figure showed up on the doorstep of TNA Impact Wrestling headquarters, and they do not condone its contents. And he said in the video, he said that I do not work for Impact Wrestling. He said that I am not an Impact superstar. I do not work for Spike TV, and I am no movement, but I'm out for personal justice. And he just said that he will be debuting on Impact this Thursday. So I'm going to give you some insight on what I think it is, or who I think it is, and what people are saying they think it is. But it's just a mystery to me, but it's kind of exciting to see how it's going to turn out. I want to welcome you to Scotty Hall on YouTube, and I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy. Like, comment, and subscribe. Well, your first thought would honestly say, with the personal justice and wanting to come through as having a vendetta on TNA Impact, you would think automatically it would be Doc, because of what he had to go through with the aces and eights and not getting the vice president, and where he got released, he doesn't work for TNA, he doesn't work for Spike TV, and he has a vendetta against aces and eights, and pretty much he's going to take them out if that's the way it goes. And another person that it could be is Adam Pearce, because he didn't get the gut check, he didn't get through, and he's a veteran, and everybody was pulling for him to get through it and to make it happen and to be on Impact, because he has a lot of fans that were in the independent circuit that followed him to the gut check, that wanted to see if he could get on TNA's roster. So that's another person that it could be. And some people say that it could be Batista, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, he is in Bellator, and it may happen, but I'm not thinking that it's Batista. And another person they said was Hardcore Holly, and it just keeps going and going and going from there, because Hardcore Holly was on Hardcore Justice, so I don't see how he can say that it's going to be him. And another person they say is Johnny Nitro, which is John Morrison, is coming to TNA, but I don't believe it's him. The person that I think it is, and who I think it sounds like, and who I know has a personal vendetta against somebody that has a YouTube war going on right now, and it's the most shocking thing, and just hear me out on this. He has a personal vendetta against Hulk Hogan, and he wants justice because of how he's put him down all these years. I think it may be the Ultimate Warrior, because he's coming after Hulk Hogan, and he's going to settle the score. And what a boost for the ratings that it would be to be the Ultimate Warrior. It would be amazing. He doesn't work for Impact. He's not been seen for a while, but he came back for the 2K14 video game. And what a way to stick it to Vince and everybody that's done him wrong, saying that he wasn't a good wrestler and he wasn't a good character, to come back and actually help a federation out that needs some help. So I think it may be Ultimate Warrior, but it may be one of the other people that I described earlier. But it's just weird that a video message would show up to say to debut on Impact. So we'll wait till Thursday to see who it is. Just because you're passionate about something doesn't make you a mark. It boggles my mind to see that people would get on here and actually say that you are a mark because you are watching something that you love, that portrays what you want to see as what it's labeled as, wrestling. TNA actually portrays wrestling. It's not entertainment. It's not the bubblegum type Fruity Pebble crap that we get from WWE, which is targeted toward kids and the ladies. I mean, it doesn't make sense that we as wrestling fans, even the women like wrestling that like TNA, I mean, I don't understand how you can have a TV-14 rating for all these Attitude Era fans that it would have never even happened anyway if they weren't trying to stay on TV. That's why we got all this garbage and trash TV from Girls Gone Wild videos and all this stuff that happened in the Attitude Era with spraying beer on stuff. That would have never happened. Would have never happened if WCW didn't push the envelope to make them actually try to stay on TV by doing that stuff. The only reason we watched WWE was to see how far they would push it. Just to see how far and what they could get away with on TV. Because they were hanging on by shreds and threads and just strings. Because it got so bad that they were recording it. It doesn't make sense that you would have a whole genre based on 2 years of really just two characters, the boss and the guy that was going against the boss, and say that that was the greatest era in wrestling, which it was the biggest boom in wrestling. But the fact is that wrestling is what we're all in it for, and TNA is a better product than WWE any day of the week, because it's not even wrestling in WWE. It's entertainment, it's social media, it's apps, it's movies, it's stuff that doesn't even pertain to wrestling, merchandise. Wrestling is what we want, and TNA gives it. Even ROH is wrestling. They're coming up. They may even surpass TNA and WWE in 10 or 15 years. You know, it all starts out in a garage somewhere, and a bunch of guys get together, and then they get some talent, they get loyal followers to their company, and then they blow up. Who knows? The people that stay true to what is the sport of professional wrestling, which they don't even call it anymore in WWE, the people that stay true to wrestling are going to surpass the people that are trying to entertain people. That's not what we're in it for. If we want to be entertained, we'll watch a movie, or we'll watch some, it's just all just entertainment. It's not even wrestling anymore. So it just makes me mad that people want TV-14, and it's TV-14, and it's better than the WWE. That's all I can say. That's just the facts. There is one man that is synonymous with ruining wrestling as we know it. For any WCW fan, for any TNA fan, for any fan that is not about entertainment, there is one name that has been haunting us for years and years and years. It is Vince Russo. The man literally destroyed WCW. He spent all of Billionaire Ted's money and he burned it to the ground. He would have Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman and Jay Leno come in and fight with Hogan and the NWO, which is ridiculous. You put the title on a guy that is in the Scream movies and David Arquette. How can you actually really legitimately say that you're going to stay in business with your title on David Arquette? And I know you were trying to push King of the Ring movie or whatever it was called, but it's just ridiculous that you would push that much money into Vince Russo, take it away from Eric Bischoff and the creative team that actually made it what it is. Let Vince Russo run it to the ground. And then you sign him in TNA and take it away from Jim Cornette, which Jim Cornette is a passionate wrestling fan that brought all the territories together to make WCW. And it's just ridiculous that you would shoot down a real legitimate person that wanted to make wrestling the way it was supposed to be in Jim Cornette, and you give it to a flashy person that wants to just ruin it and run it in the ground with all these Hollywood stars. Because back in the day, when Jim Cornette was writing it, they weren't characters. You think that Ric Flair is a character? You think that Ric Flair actually wanted to be I mean, do you think that he didn't act like that in real life? That's the way Flair is. He's not a character. He is a heel. He's really the style and profiling person. That's what he is. That's who he acts. That's how he is. There's no characters. Those people really actually were themselves. I mean, yeah, some of them painted their face and they acted like badasses and all that stuff, and they were some characters. They weren't characters, though. They were gimmicks. Nowadays, they're characters. They're portrayed. There were no storylines in wrestling in the 80s. It was called promos, which everyone freaked out over CM Punk's promo because it was driven by an 82 to 86, 1986 year of promos that were driven back 20 years ago that came out in 2010 when he cut that one. So it's just rehashed from a long time ago, and people hadn't seen it in so long, they were tricked into saying, "Oh, this is new." No, it's not new. They're not characters. They were gimmicks back then. Even the heels were not allowed. The heels were not allowed to stay in the same hotel. They had separate hotels for the heels and the faces, because they wanted, when they met on the pay-per-view or the week of the main event, then they would really be fighting each other because they'd hear through the grapevine that they were talking trash about each other. It's not realistic when you see Stone Cold Steve Austin going out and having a beer with The Rock, or you see just anybody that's a heel. You don't believe it if you see them go back in the back and hanging out with the face. It just doesn't make for good business. So why would you sign Hollywood superstars that have nothing to do with wrestling to push it back into the mainstream? Because what made you who you are, you steered away from, and you didn't book the right the booking. That's what Russo is a booker. He ruined everything. He had a company. Vince McMahon's company was dying. He had a company backpedaling. What Eric Bischoff did. He had the company backpedaling. And then Russo takes over because Eric Bischoff wants to be on TV. So they decide to go with it, Russo, and he runs it in the ground. That's why you saw in the last weeks of WCW, and when they were on TV, they were going back to Bischoff. But it was too late by then. I mean, you put the belt on DDP. How is DDP going to carry your company? He was a good character, but he was a manager to Scott Hall. I mean, he was the Diamond Studs manager. That's how he got Diamond Dallas Page, which, I mean, he turned out to be an all-right wrestler if you like somebody that just rides a bike and thinks he can jump in the ring and be a wrestler. I mean, a manager turned wrestler. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just, you can't go off and try to buy people to view your product. You have to stick with what got you there in the first place. You may have put them out of wrestling if you would have just stuck with what you had and just didn't deal with Vince Russo. Jim Cornette would have ran it to the sky and back, because Jim Cornette and Jim Ross worked in NWA, and Vince was smart enough to take away Jim Ross, but Cornette stayed, and then Russo ran him out, and then Russo ran Cornette out in TNA, and it just all fell apart. That's why you think everybody says they like TNA from 2004 to 2008. Who do you think was running TNA in 2004 to 2008? It was Jim Cornette, and Vince Russo came in 2009, ruined it, and it's all went downhill from there. So, I mean, it's finally starting to come back. They need to get rid of Hogan and all that stuff, and then just see what happens, because they need to just stay away from Hollywood and trying to make a big name for themselves. All they have to do is have people do a collar and elbow tie-up, arm drag, and it's over. The rest is history. Stick to wrestling. I want to thank you all for watching, and I want you guys to know that I am a really, really passionate wrestling fan, and I just wish that it could go back to the prominence that it once was, and I want to be enjoying it again. I want it to be portrayed as two men or two women that get in the ring and destroy each other, that put on a great storytelling match to tell the story about how it came to be that this guy or this girl made me so mad that I had to get in a squared circle and slap them around and get the 1, 2, 3. Because that's what it's all about, is getting the 1, 2, 3, not entertainment. I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, we all have a video camera, we all have internet, and we all have an opinion.